Hans Wormhat. I just want to show this clip from a children's show and also another clip that somebody sent to me. Gorillas are a huge deception. Just the great apes are all fursuits, and they're actors in fursuits. Check this out.
Hello? Jonathan, this is not a good time. Angelica's having a bad meeting.
Mrs. Pickles?
What do you mean they won't let us have the gorilla? Of course we take good care of it.
You're getting a gorilla? I lived with them in Africa for 3 years.
So we got the three, the unnecessary three too,
Having a
but
bad meeting.
you saw the hand signs, right? There were two
Mrs.
hand signs.
Pickles?
What do you mean they won't let us have the gorilla? Of course we...
Right when they say gorilla, look at those hand signs, the triad claw.
take good care of it.
You're getting a gorilla? I lived with them in Africa.
And then, of course, the devil horns when this person is saying that they lived with the gorillas in Africa for 3 years. They hold double devil horns up. And cartoons are just a huge example of people throwing hand signs left and right, and especially back in the day when cartoons had to be drawn by hand, and each frame, they would actually draw it. Well, they spent a lot of time focusing on what the hands of these characters would do. And I think this is part of how people learn what the different signs mean. I think that it's a big thing when you're talking about a satanic deception, throwing up your devil horns. And I've seen people do this in day-to-day stuff. For example, my brother will be reciting some story, and I look at his hands, and they're positioned showing off devil horns. And it's like, why are you holding your hands like that as you tell a story? I mean, at that point, I just stopped listening to them and whatever. But yeah, you're surrounded by people that speak with their hand signs. And it's talking about gorillas. Now, somebody sent me this, and it's because how silly they look. You can tell that they're actors in fursuits. When you know the secret, it's like knowing the magician's secret. It's more obvious. Oh my gosh. That's a bad one. Okay, those noises were pretty annoying, but I'll play it one more time. Okay, and very well trained because they're actors inside of fursuits. They have that little entrance door, exit door that they're always going to be coming in and out of at the right time, and they never try to escape. And they're always putting on a show because they're actors. Tourism, our prized tourism gem, the gorillas. I liked this. Have since March been reproducing as if they have a timeline to adhere to. Yeah, they do have timelines to adhere to. These are just fursuits, and the babies are just really realistic looking puppets. Little, you know those baby dolls that they sell that are really realistic looking, and they'll even go out of their way to put heating elements and a little breathing mechanism into these lifelike baby dolls. It's the same thing with the baby gorillas. It's just a lifelike little animatronic doll that they mostly just attach. They're just physically attached to the fursuit. Anyways, what I want to talk about here is how their fake animals, their media sensation animals, will always be present in the media around these hoaxes. I always refer back to the Australian wildfires. If you paid attention to the media, you would think that the only animal that's being affected by the wildfires are the koalas. It's like, do any other animals live in Australia besides the koala that's supposed to be endangered? I mean, I'm sure that's why they would tell you, oh, well, that's the media story because they're this endangered animal. But you never see stories about talking about how the fires are killing all the squirrels or whatever. I'm not familiar with Australian wildlife because all we get is the BS. All they talk about is koalas. And of course, kangaroos. I saw a few kangaroo stories here and there for the wildfires, but 9 times out of 10, it was some plushy, really obvious plushy koala and some sob story. And now with the virus story of this year, I've seen so many stories about orangutans, chimpanzees, and gorillas. You don't see stories about squirrels potentially getting it or skunks potentially getting it. They had that story about the pangolins, and that's another fake media animal. So they just love to get their fake animals in it. I didn't check, but I bet there's some panda stories. I bet there's some panda corona stories out there. But anyways, history has it that totally an appeal to history. You'll see this sometimes where instead of telling you that something is fact, they'll say like this, it'll be like an appeal to history. Well, history has it that the first European to track gorillas in Africa, his story, a French man called Paul Baloney. It's a bunch of baloney. This was before the scramble for Africa, who in his writings paints a picture of the primate in a hilly landscape and thick vegetation. Okay. And old depictions of gorillas clearly look different because it's just a fake animal. And people have always been making up stories. Oh, I went to Africa and I saw this furry human beast in the woods. People have always been making up stories. It's just that nowadays they have much more tech that they can use to deceive people. Back in the day, all you could do is write a book about it and maybe draw a picture or two to try to convince people of your crazy stories. Come up with a taxidermy hoax like the platypus. But this is what people do. Think about people that lie about the size fish that they catch. These types of people have always existed, and they go to Africa. Half of them probably never even go to Africa. They just hide out in the city for a month, put on a fake disguise and pretend to be another person for a month. And then, they came back and, work on a few paper mache art projects in your house discreetly, and then come back and say that you left to distant lands and tell people all the things that you saw. You draw a picture like this. My first gorilla. Anyways, looks like Bigfoot, right? This could have easily been Bwindi, impenetrable forest in southwestern Uganda, 331 kilometers away. And the writing, they so often use childish, sexual imagery. It is endowed. Who uses the word endowed in a situation like this? It is endowed with half the world's surviving mountain gorillas. There's no such thing as mountain gorillas. They are actors in fursuits. That's why you can go to these places and go on a nature walk and see gorillas every time, because it's an act. You're watching gorilla actors every time. Everybody who goes and buys a little ticket to go see the gorillas, guess what? You're going to see the gorillas because they're fursuits. And high up Illuminati people, they know it's all a show, but they love to shell out the money to go be a part of it and to take some duping delight pictures and show it to unsuspecting people. Keep hands off the little bundles. Do not eat in their presence because your hot dog is 33, somebody's told me. I have yet to check it out for myself, but I'm going to put that out there. Burger or Rolex might be grabbed. Some cannot resist the urge to taste your bottle of Ugandi Waragi, which I'm guessing is some sort of alcoholic beverage, or mineral water. Or what about smoking cigs? There are so many videos of these actors in fursuits smoking cigs through their fursuit. And if you go look at the third world zoos, it's like way worse quality fursuits. I've looked at some footage of Indian chimpanzees and they look so run down, and I can see a huge seam up the back of the costume and they look mangy. And they're campier. They do stuff like smoke cigarettes and things at the third world zoos. After the 1 hour spent in the company of gorillas that are usually seen in movies or documentaries, do you get the mocking here? A tracker takes home a certificate. Oh, you get a certificate. I saw a certified gorilla. Man, the bad news. During the pandemic, sadly, a silverback called Rafik was killed in Bwindi by a poacher. All of these poacher stories are just sob stories to get you to emotionally connect to a fursuit. The poacher was tried and is serving a 10-year. I bet you these people just don't even exist. They just come up with these just a fake person. The first is the Waterfall Trail, which climaxes more of that language. Earlier, it was something being endowed. Now we have waterfall trails climaxing at a 33-meter waterfall. They are taking the piss. It leaves many perspiring with labored breathing. Are you kidding me? Is this real life right now? Do you see that you are being mocked by a bunch of children that are liars, part of an Orange 33 club? I love this too. The whole thing ended with, when shooting images, keep the flash off. Please, no flash photography. Something about that just was really funny. Primatologists work to keep great apes safe from whatever, the thing. And it's, like I mentioned earlier, they're never going to run stories about real animals. Oh, what about the deer population with all these wildfires? No, they're going to talk endlessly about koalas and pandas. What about other... I mean, I see the connection here because the big reason that they came up with this great ape lie is to push evolution and to make people think that evolution is real and then that humans came from a monkey. That's why this deception exists. And so they try to tell us that these are closer to humans. So it's like, I get why there would be more news stories about these things possibly getting the virus. But you get what I'm trying to say, that the media is just filled with the fake media animals. And how often do you see media stories about deers or squirrels or real life things? And yet there's endless media productions about all the fake apes and sloths and platypus and panda. And if you haven't watched it, I have a video on top 10 fake animals, so maybe that's a good place to start. This hoax could threaten endangered great apes, scientists warn. They'll just be endless with the propaganda. And pay attention to the signs and the symbols. The devil is in the detail. That's because satanic people, they hide their communications in the details. That's why it's the devil is in the detail. Hope you enjoyed the video. God bless everyone.